Is it so weird for a star to be friends with an Asian presenter?
Also being a Parsi Zoroastrian, a lot of people said she's not a real Asian. I've experienced incredible things that a young girl from Southall and Harlesden should never have the access to do.
Jasmine, welcome to Achievers.
Thanks for having me.
And firstly, let me wish you belated happy birthday.
Oh, thank you.
How did you celebrate?
I celebrate my birthday all year round. I really am one of these people who drag it out for months. So
Oh, wow.
on the day,
Yeah.
with my close friend, we went to Windsor. We had high tea just outside the castle. We had mani-pedis in a spa. The next day I was taken out to dinner at a lovely new hotel called the Beaumont in London.
Oh, wow.
And this coming Saturday I have a huge industry dinner with lots of artists and well-known names at a burlesque club in London.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so
Well.
I will be dragging this out for months.
That's fantastic. One should follow your footsteps where birthday celebrations are
Absolutely.
concerned. Well, you know, Jasmine, I was reading about you. You're quite a trailblazer. I mean, you're one of the very few, actually, you're probably one of the first few British Asians who broke into the mainstream music industry. You've been a broadcaster, you've been a producer, you've been a director, you've been a radio pundit, you've been a columnist. I mean, you are the jack of so many trades. However, I feel that perhaps the Asian industry has never really appreciated you for the gem that you were and still are. What are your thoughts on that?
It's difficult. I understand that different decades and different generations react differently to people in different industries. When I was younger, I was a presenter on The Word straight out of university. The Word was a show in the 90s that was outrageous. It was sex, drugs and rock and roll. My mum's friends probably said, "Oh, do you know what your daughter does? This is not quite the show that we expected her to be on." My dad was immensely proud and loved it all. But, you know, for the Asian community back then, it probably was a bit of a jolt. You know, women were seen as being very stereotypical in their moulds. If you
Yes.
weren't a doctor, lawyer, solicitor or a housewife, you weren't able to really do much else. So seeing this young Asian woman who'd been brought up in the Asian community but doing a show that was so aligned with sex, drugs and rock and roll just wasn't accepted back then. I remember the Eastern Eye newspaper used to be full of letters that said, "This girl, what's she doing? It's outrageous." And other people would defend me and say, "Why is it so bad for you to see her stepping out of the mould?" So I understand that they haven't really accepted me from when I was quite young. And also being a Parsi Zoroastrian, a lot of people said she's not a real Asian, she's more Arabic. So I
Yes.
guess I didn't fit in anywhere. I felt like this mongrel that kind of fitted in nowhere and everywhere.
But you never really wanted to pursue a music career. You wanted to be a dancer.
I did.
And in fact, a ballerina.
Yeah, I studied ballet for years. You know, I grew up in
Yes.
Southall and Harlesden. I went to a very regular school. And at the weekend, my dad shoved me off to the local ballet school where we did all the jazz, tap, modern, etc., etc. And I loved ballet and I did it for years and I couldn't ever envisage not doing it.
Yes.
And I aspired to be like my ballet teacher, Miss Crouch, this wonderful woman who during World War II had hidden all the ballet dancers under these huge tables in the school and stuff. And yeah, I loved ballet. You know, I had posters of Margot Fonteyn and Rudolf Nureyev on my walls while all my other friends had pop stars. And the irony of years later being in the music industry and my friends would be like, "But you know nothing about music. You don't even care about albums and pop stars." And I'd be like, "I've just been thrown into this. What can I do?"
But I believe that it was one of your dancers who told you that until unless you're not blonde with big breasts, you know, forget about being a dancer.
Absolutely, and look what that did to me. Yeah, I've had to blondify myself up.
I know, I
No,
think you
I
look
do
pretty
remember.
awesome.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Years ago, when I used to dance at Pineapple, for a minute I used to teach at the Royal Academy of Dance, and I do
Yes.
remember we did lots of auditions for both very fabulous classic things and, of course, the tacky pop videos. And my technique was so good and my ballet exams were so highly graded and I'd never get picked for the auditions, or once in a while it might be a pop video but it'd be an urban or a black or a hip hop
Do you think
video.
it was an Asian thing?
It may
Was
have
it
been an Asian
borderline
thing. I mean,
racism?
who knows? It was so unusual for an Asian girl back then to be strutting her stuff at Pineapple
Yes.
thinking she was in fame. And I do remember one of the older girls had taken me to the side and she said, "Listen, love, it doesn't matter how great you are and you're technically wonderful."
Yes.
She said, "It's always about how you look." So all the tall, blonde, big busty girls that they want draped over the car adverts, etc., they're going to get the auditions. And she said, "If you want a real secure life, then don't go down this route." So I didn't, and it was the best advice I was given back then.
Your parents separated
Yes.
when you were 7 years old. was your mother, because your mother was a bit religious and a bit old-fashioned, so did she support your career choice?
Yeah, I have to say my parents have both always been very supportive of what I do, as long as it was professional and it didn't bring shame upon them. And shame upon them really would have just been something unprofessional. It wouldn't have been the area or the genre I was in. And they've never pressured me about anything, you know, all credit to them. There was a moment when my mum used to say to me, when are you going to get a real job, when I was a TV presenter? And I'd say, Mum, this is a real job.
This is a real job.
I make more in a month than you ever made in a year. Like, do you understand? I mean, she gets it now, bless
But you
her.
started your career as a runner at Planet 24, which was run by Bob Geldof.
Bob Geldof, Charlie Parsons, and now Lord Wahid Ali.
Yes, and from there on, you got the opportunity for Word. Now, the program Word was so unconventional. What's great is during that time when there were no Asian presenters, they picked you. And I think you were quite stunned when they picked you because you were not in the running. Why were you picked?
It's a funny story, actually. I have always just enjoyed what I do, whether it was my A-levels, my degree, everything kind of fell into place. I just did what I did, you know, with passion. And I remember when I'd got into Planet 24, as you mentioned, I was a runner. And then I was there for 6 months after being a runner. I was a floor assistant on a show called The Big Breakfast, which was then hosted by Chris Evans and Gabby Roslin. Then I was promoted to a floor manager just for a month while Toby, our real floor manager, was off on vacation. And I was really excited. And one of the researchers said, hey, as you know, we make the Word as well. Would you audition for that? And I went, oh no, I've never wanted to be a presenter. So that was the end of that. And then a couple of weeks later, I got a memo from Charlie Parsons and Wahid Ali, who were the bosses. And they said, oh, could you come and see us tomorrow after you've done the Big Breakfast shift? And I thought, God, what's this about? So he'd said, oh, we need someone to fill in for the auditions for the Word. We've got 5 finalists, but we need 6, because in the final competition, we're going to have them interview each other. Didn't you do drama or something at college?
Yes.
Yeah, would you fill in and be the 6th person? And of course, I didn't think anything of it. And I said, yeah, that's fine, I'll turn up. And so, you know, I knew all the crew, I knew the cameramen, I was comfortable around them. And so I turn up at Channel 4 to do this final audition, and
with
lo
your
and behold, big curly hair, leg warmers, probably tracksuit. I didn't even own heels or skirts in those days. And I remember turning up, and the other 5 finalists were all females of colour. And I thought, this is interesting. Channel 4 clearly have a diversity box to tick.
They have to tick
and
it.
therefore, I'm here with these 5. I mean, but I didn't think anything of it. I remember the audition included interviewing Page 3 girls, Joan Collins and a couple of other people. And I just had a laugh with it. And then a couple of weeks later, I got another memo at work saying, Jazz, could you come and see us after the show this morning? And I thought, oh my God, I'm going to be fired. Because back then, in the days of the Big Breakfast, when you were on a runner's shift, depending on which shift you were on, you looked after the presenters. And I was on the shift where I was looking after Paula Yates, who was Bob Geldof's wife and also a presenter. And so when Paula left every day, her huge fresh flowers that cost a bomb were thrown in the bin. So I thought, well, I'll take them home to my mum. So I used to nick Paula's flowers. No one batted an eyelid. And I thought, God, they've caught me nicking the flowers. I'm going to be fired. So I've gone up there, and Charlie and Wahid are pacing around the room, and they say, so Jazz, sit down. And I sit down, and I'm very nervous, and they say, right, we want you to go to your desk and clear it. And I'm thinking, oh my God, I'm being fired. We want you to leave the building and get yourself a solicitor. Oh my God, they're going to sue me for stealing flowers.
Such a bad way to break the news.
Exactly. And then Wahid kind of chuckled, and he said, because you are no longer an employee of Planet 24 as a floor manager for the Big Breakfast. And I'm thinking, God, this is really bad. I mean, what have I done? I've ruined my career before it started. And he says, because you are now the next presenter of the Word on Channel 4. And I remember thinking, what's he talking about? And, you know, I said, oh no, stop joking. You know, why have you really called me into your office? And he said, no, honestly, Jazz, you need to go and get your stuff, and you need a solicitor. And he said, the show starts next week. And that was it. I was chucked into this role. Someone in the PR team clearly thought from runner dog's body to star would be a good headline. And that was one of the headlines in the Mirror the following week. And so, yeah, it was all an accident.
And how was your experience at work? I mean, I know you were traveling to the US, you were going all around the world, you were at Snoop Doggy Dogg's murder trial.
We did incredible things.
You interviewed Aaliyah. I mean, how was that whole experience?
It was incredible. I mean, I was really thrown into the deep end, never wanted to be a presenter, never travelled apart from going to see, you know, my parents' families in Kenya and India when I was younger. So suddenly there I was on a jet plane twice a week from London to New York, London to LA. I mean, it was always New York or LA or somewhere in the States. And it was interviewing these incredible people who were just at the beginning of their careers. You know, people like Oasis, Kurt Cobain, Mark Morrison, Mary J. Blige.
Darling, you need to write a book. There is no one that you don't know or haven't written about or talked to or interviewed.
So, I have 10 books in me, believe me.
I can
probably
imagine.
Be sued to high heels, though.
But they'll make you millions.
Yeah, I'd probably never get spoken to again or work again. But I guess I can do it when I retire.
Now, like you mentioned earlier in the interview, that you got a lot of grief when you were at, you know, filming Word. And I remember your interview with Aaliyah, you were wearing quite a funky orange crop top and little shorts. And you had your own sense of style, this little girl with, you know, curly, big hair.
Curly hair.
And you're quite a character. You must have had a backbone made of steel to kind of endure that kind of backlash that you got during that time.
I have to say that when I came out of uni, I really just wanted to please everyone. I came from a very good Asian family where my mum just said, be punctual, be responsible, don't let people down, don't borrow money, be the best person that you can be. So when they gave me this job of being this presenter for the biggest television youth culture show in the 90s at the time, I just did as I was told. And they had a stylist at the time called Al, rest in peace, he's no longer around, but Al was completely freaky.
Yeah.
Young black guy, wore suits and trainers and French berets, very hip hop. And he said, you come from Southall and Harlesden, Danny Bear is the glamorous one and you're the street chick. So he put me in these outfits that I would never have dreamed of wearing. I mean, I was wearing batty riders and thigh-high boots and rucksacks on my back like a nerdy hip-hop kid. It wasn't me. I just wore what I was told. But, you know, yeah, people didn't always approve and I was this girl showing lots of flesh and probably too much attitude. But I came from, you know, when you come from the streets in Southall and Harlesden, everywhere you go, you're comfortable because you can never be uncomfortable anywhere. Those streets are manic and wild, and if you can negotiate yourself around different cultures and different classes and different people, nothing's scary after that. We had a lot of balls back then.
Now, you interviewed Aaliyah when she had just started her career at 15. And, you know, when she was a star at 21, sadly, she died in the plane crash. How did you feel when you heard that news?
It's like one of those things, you know, when they say you remember where you were when it was Princess Diana or Michael Jackson. I remember where I was. I remember hearing about it. I remember feeling shocked. What can you say? You know, a young life taken so soon. I think it's really tragic when that happens because then suddenly all the press comes out and says to you, what was she like? What did she say? How did you feel? I mean, remember, these people aren't your friends if you've met them only twice and you've interviewed them. You've spent time with them. They're people you've worked with. It was a very sad situation, but alas, you know, it's life.
Now, you've met a lot of stars, huge stars. Have you ever been awestruck by anyone?
Yeah, I've been awestruck by people, but probably not the people that people expect me to be really groupie and fan-like with. I remember, well, I trained as a ballet dancer, and then I also did a lot of martial arts training with people that I trained with. So when I interviewed Jackie Chan, I was a literal bag of nerves, thinking, oh my God, I've watched this guy's movies for years.
But he was amazing.
Stunts, etc., etc. And I literally was stuttering as I was getting my words out, and he probably thought, wow, what's wrong with this woman? So that was
What was Jackie Chan like?
He was lovely, really fun, really humble. You know, I always find that the biggest stars and the bigger they are, the more humble and modest they are. So they will come into a room, they'll introduce themselves to the whole crew, they'll shake their hands and be very friendly because they understand that that cameraman, that director, the vision mixer and the sound guy are probably going to either make you look your best or worst, depending on how you've made them feel.
Exactly.
So yes, the biggest stars are the most humble. I've been in awe of so many people, but not the ones, as I say, you'd expect.
Has anyone knocked you off your feet?
Wow. Will Smith was very cool. Sylvester Stallone was very cool.
Oh my God, Sylvester Stallone
Jean-Claude
was...
Van Damme was very cool. I think when they're big Hollywood stars,
Yes.
they have so much charm
Yes.
that they know when the camera's on, they turn it on for you because
Yes.
they're going to. You know,
But who kept it turned on after the cameras were off?
Oh, the men do. You know what men are like? Men will flirt with anything. I mean, men are so bored probably. They're doing junkets and interviews all day long.
Oh,
They
you
think,
don't give yourself
here's
enough
another
credit.
woman, we'll flirt with her. I mean, honestly, you don't take any of them seriously.
Were you ever asked on a date?
Oh, many times. Never went on one. Never.
Seriously?
No.
Why?
Because I've
Not
always
available?
been either not available or just not willing to mix business with pleasure. You never want to look at the star that you're interviewing, and you never want them to look at you like a piece of meat. Like when people come into my studio or I'm interviewing them, whether it's for TV, radio or print press, I want them to respect me. I'd rather they walk away from it calling me a cold, hard-nosed as opposed to a loose, flirty woman that's just trying to sleep her way up. You know, when you come into my studio, I'm in control, I ask the questions, you answer them, and we all know where we stand.
Now, Jasmine, the media became obsessed with your friendship with Mariah Carey. Are you guys still friends?
Yeah, we are.
And what was the reason for the obsession? Is it so weird for a star to be friends with an Asian presenter?
I think it's weird for a star to be a friend with anyone who they deem as being normal, working class and common. So yeah, their obsession was, well, they're not on the same level. Why are they such good friends? And how come she's visiting her at her flat in West London? That's
Yes.
really weird. So you'd have cars outside when they knew that she was there. I mean, I guess it's, you know, friendships have no boundaries. And I think if people click because they laugh about the same things and they have the same sense of humour, which we really do,
Yes.
then, you know, you just get on.
But you were dreading interviewing her because you had heard what a big diva she was. And you actually got along quite well with her. She has a wicked sense of humor.
Absolutely.
She ended up throwing you in the swimming pool when you went to interview her. I think that's totally wild.
Well, what had happened was my boss at the time, Will McCaughlan, who was my favourite boss, he was supposed to go out and interview her in Capri in Italy. And he couldn't go at the last minute and said, right, you're going to have to go. And I was like, oh, no, don't make me do it. She's not my kind of artist. Send someone else. And he was like, no, 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 you'll be fine. So I remember travelling across there. No one in my team, no camera people were using her crew, her talent bookers, etc., etc. So me, little old me, on a ferry by myself, getting across to Capri from Naples, turn up, dreading this interview, spending the night before on the hotel internet going like this. I don't know anything about this woman apart from the fact that she leapt off a balcony in this video and I really like fantasy.
Yes.
And apart from that, I have no clue what she's like. She's meant to be a horrific diva. Oh my God, what is she going to be like? And lo and behold, we had an amazing chat. She was wearing a red bikini, a crocheted red bikini, and she was such a laugh. She was really witty. We talked about hip hop. She really, my thing was hip hop and R&B. And she really knew everything, every lyric, every artist. And I was like, wow, you're really into this genre. It's not a big fake thing. And after the interview finished, she said, oh, come into my bedroom. Let me show you my albums. Leave me your phone number. I'll call you. And I thought, yeah, you're going to call me. So there was a part at the end of all the interviews that I did where the artist had to pretend to be offended by what I said and either had to be, you know, slap me, walk out, push me in the pool, whatever it was that they would do. So her thing was she had to push me in the pool and that was the end of the interview. But instead, she decided to push me in the pool and then jumped in with me because she was then paranoid that people would think she was a bitch. So she jumps in the pool with me and all hell breaks loose because her glam squad, she's got interviews lined up after me, her hair's soaking, she's soaking, her makeup's ruined. And we had such a giggle. But the funniest moment from that was I then realised that I was soaking wet and whilst I'd bought a change of clothes with me, I hadn't bought a change of underwear. So I said, oh my God, I've got to go back on the ferry to Naples with no underwear and a dress on. And she went to me, oh, don't worry. She said, come over here. I'll give you a pair of mine. So I go into her room and she gives me her nude pressed polythened pants, brand new, in a, you know, what's it called, shrink wrap or whatever. So I was going home wearing Mariah Carey's knickers.
Oh, wow.
And then when I came back in my column, I wrote, I'm writing this column today wearing Mariah Carey's knickers.
Oh, wow.
And someone wrote back to the newspaper and said, you've now devalued them by wearing them. So that's the end of that. So that's how we became friends. And I think a couple of months later, I was in my car driving home from work and on the speakerphone, someone came up and said, is that Jasmine Dotiwala? Yes, it is. Are you available to speak to Mariah Carey right now? She's on the line. And I remember going, oh, actually, I'm not. I'm driving. Could she call back? Because I was so panicked. And yeah, it was the beginning of a friendship many, many years ago.
No, you know, though she's considered to be such a big diva by the media, something about her is very childlike. If you observe her or see her interviews, there's something very childish about her.
Yeah.
Do you agree?
She's festive for life. We always say that she's eternally 12. I mean, the one thing that we click on is we are really spontaneous. Any excuse to celebrate anything, any excuse to have a party. If it's Easter, we're painting eggs. If it's Halloween, we're dressing up in costumes. She has a really fun, very young spirit about her, and she's never going to lose that. And that's really magic in someone.
Yeah, a true star.
A true star. I mean, being a friend of hers has also taught me a lot about the industry.
Yes.
That you think you know when you're a TV producer or a director or you've worked in the industry for years. But when you see the industry from that point of view and you spend enough time with an artist at her level, I mean, she's a living legend. You really do understand a lot more.
You know, she's had some setbacks, you know, with her whole marriage breakdown, Sony, and so on and so forth.
She's only human. You think about how long she's been in the game. The record she's broken, the longevity she's had, it's not comparable. It's funny because every 5 or 6 years, a new artist turns up and they say, she's the new Mariah Carey.
Yes.
And I think, yeah, let's see how long
there
that lasts.
There was a Whitney Houston and there was a
happens.
Mariah Carey.
Yeah, yeah.
Now, is the public persona of stars, in your opinion, very different from who they actually are? Because you've interviewed so many.
I think there are some stars that are not afraid of keeping it real, and you see their true personalities. You know, personalities who are very opinionated and are very politically engaged, like Russell Brand. They are who they are, and that's what you see is what you get. I used to produce him at MTV for years, so I know that really is him. There are other
He was
stars.
a bit mad, wasn't he?
He's incredible. He's very, very fast. He's a genius. You either get him or you don't. Yeah, you know, in the kind of Marmite, Piers Morgan way, you love them or you hate them. I think people who are opinionated, you really are getting what you see. A lot of other people have lots of media training and it's a lot of a facade. So, for example, when Rihanna first came to the game, it's incredible to me now to look back because when she first came into the game, she was so quiet and monosyllabic, and we'd interview her. And so I remember doing the very first interview with her for MTV, and the record label rep from Def Jam said, Jazz, could you come in and talk to Rihanna? She's very nervous. She just wants you to tell her what the questions are about, how you expect her to answer. And I remember spending an hour before the interview just, you know, pumping her up and filling her with confidence. And now I look at her and I think, wow, what a transformation. So, you know, some people are groomed into celebrity life and some people are just natural stars.
Now, you started your, you know, you got fame afterward. And following that,
yes,
exactly, you got famous while you were filming Word. Then you started your career with MTV Europe and then with MTV International. And then finally you became the head of MTV-based production. That was quite an achievement. You had over a decade working for MTV. What was your experience like working with MTV?
It was incredible. You know, I was very lucky. I always find that the harder you work, the luckier you get. So if you really do everything well and you show willing and you go above and beyond, you really will be rewarded. And that's all I ever did. I just got lucky. I was either in the right place at the right time, or maybe sometimes I might have ticked a diversity box. I always tried to deliver more than was expected of me. And at MTV, I was there for 14 years, and every couple of years I had a different job role. So it kind of felt like I was doing a different job every couple of years. So I went from an MTV News Europe presenter when MTV News was one big European feed. Then I was a news producer and a presenter. Then I was a series editor. Then I was a head of a MTV News International. And so, as you know, as you said, I gradually worked up. But it was an incredible time. You know, Viacom had pots of money. I was literally flying to New York to do 5-minute interview junkets with Madonna, you know, an interview with the Backstreet Boys and NSYNC in Florida. I was supposed to be there for 1 day to do an interview and ended up being there for 6 days because Justin had just broken up with Britney. And the record label said, I'm really sorry, Justin's not up to it today. Do you mind staying another day? And it ended up being an 8-day shoot. Well, it was incredible because you're sitting by this hotel pool thinking, wow, this is amazing. I'm working right now. You know, all those moments are incredible. Yeah, it was a great learning curve. It was a company that really encouraged you to develop your skills. And if you really delivered above and beyond, you really could progress and fly through the ranks. And I think I was very lucky and blessed to have some great bosses.